Hi, I'm Talicza.
And I'm Rachael, and this is Transatlantic Crime, a true crime podcast that covers stories from each side of the pond. Every week, we will both cover a separate story with a running theme.
Disclaimer, this podcast will contain swearing and details that some people may find offensive. If you are of a sensitive disposition, listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Transatlantic Crime.
Crime. So close.
Just taken me 4 hours to get home from London to Andover.
Oh my goodness. How long does it normally take? Like 2?
Not even that. Like an hour and a half.
No, why?
The trains weren't supposed to be running today. The train from London to Southampton took fucking 2 hours.
What?
Oh, and then I had a kid sat opposite me that was just like screaming at his parents, and I was like, oh. I think they could tell I was hungover because they ended up moving.
Oh, aw. It would have been faster if you walked.
Honestly, Rachel. I mean, I know people have problems, but fuck me, that was awful.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, was the train just going at a walking pace?
I don't know, like everything was just fucked. So I'm back home now, I'm a parents, and I was meant to drive to Bristol, but like, fuck that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I'm glad you made it back to Andover at least.
Yeah. Like when Tom said yes to the lift, like, and it's not even that big a deal to him. It's like a half-hour drive, but I could have just cried. Yeah. And then I also said to the man, like, I've got a ticket from London to Andover. Do I have to get a new ticket to go from London to Southampton? And he looked at it, and then he like got a bit of receipt, and then like stamped it with like a stamp, and then wrote a little note on it, being like, "Please accept this as like a ticket." I was like, you lovely, lovely man. Gave me like a little free pass.
Aw, that's nice.
It was so cute. But yeah, so I'm home now, thank God. Oh, I said, like, promised myself that I would go home on Saturday night. But then I went to a party, and I don't know why I expected the food to just be ready when I was there, but like it wasn't. So we didn't eat until like 9, and we were like drinking tequila because it was Mexican food. One sip of that, and I was like, I'm not going anywhere.
Where did you stay?
Their house. They got a spare room. Yeah,
Nice.
Charlotte was like, I got a spare room. I was like, I know I'm staying. Yeah, how was your weekend then?
It was Thanksgiving weekend, so it was really nice. Actually, I just spent it by myself. I didn't have to talk to anyone.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it? I fucking love my own company.
It's great. I think 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have been so sad and depressed, but it's really healthy to be at a place where you just enjoy your own company.
Yeah, 100%.
And I was just happy to cuddle with my dog.
Aww.
And
did you have any Thanksgiving
some nice
food?
food? Yeah, I had like I had pumpkin pie.
That's nice.
And lots of like just little things like a charcuterie board, and
that's living.
Yeah, it was great. Watched some movies.
Yeah, what did you watch? That's the most important thing.
I watched the new Marvel movie, Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah, that's supposed to be pretty good.
It's all right. Yeah, it's not bad.
Hasn't it got something in it? It's like a dog, but it's got no face.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't understand that.
No, right. Me neither. Because Tom sent me a picture of it and was like, Luna went fucking mental at this when it went on the TV, and I was like, I don't blame her. That thing's horrific. I was like, why hasn't it got a face? He was like, it kind of has got a face. I was like, it doesn't have a face. It's demonic.
I love that his dog just went nuts at it. That's amazing.
I do not like this.
It's not like a menacing character. It's supposed to be like cuddly and cute.
Yeah.
So that's even funnier.
Yeah. I took a real disliking to it. I don't like any Marvel films. I don't like any of them.
Oh.
None.
I do.
What one do you like the best?
I like movies. So
yeah, they're just so fucking explodey. Like everything explodes. There's at least like 5 explosions in every one.
Yeah, I mean it's entertaining. That's it. No. It's like watching reality TV. It doesn't mean anything. Makes you feel good for a little bit. Has flashy colors and explosions.
Yeah. Like Tom's like, you watch the most depressing shit I've ever seen. And I'm like, I don't like happy stuff. I don't know why.
Actually, you know what I started watching? Because you suggested it like forever ago.
What?
And it's been on my list to watch. Rillington Place.
Oh my God, it's so good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good.
I can't tell you that
It's
story now, though. Because now you know the story.
We have talked about it.
Yeah, we
but,
have talked about it.
I mean, it's the opposite of a Marvel movie. It's a very slow build.
Yeah.
No explosions.
No. The girl from Killing Eve's in it, though.
Yes. I've only watched the first 2 episodes, so...
Oh my God, I forgot it was
haven't got very
I thought
far.
it was just like a 1 hour thing. I forgot it had like episodes.
No.
It is slow because there is not much story to like stretch across.
Yeah, exactly. If anyone wants to watch it, it's not a Marvel movie. It's very slow and it's very British and dark and gray and depressing.
It's a very grey film, yeah. What do you watch it on there?
I found it on AMC Plus.
Because it's BBC, isn't it? Which is hard to get over there.
Yeah, it's hard to find. If you have Amazon Prime and then you can do like, they have like a trial for AMC Plus. I sound like an ad.
No, this is a hack.
Yeah, get the trial and then cancel it almost straight away because you can have it for 2 weeks and you can binge watch Rillington Place and a couple other British things. And I got it because I first wanted to watch this show called Kevin Can Fuck Himself. And
that's really funny because we know a Kevin.
Yeah. Do you have that over there?
No, well, we might do. I've not heard of it. But like, I really want you to text Kevin and be like, Kevin, have you seen Kevin go fuck yourself? And he'll be like, why are you being like this?
I will ask him. I'll ask him today. Yeah, so I wanted to watch that, and then they had Rillington Place, so I've been watching that, and then I'm going to cancel my membership.
There can only be 1 episode left. I mean, fucking hell.
I'm not sure. I think there's like 4 episodes.
Jesus. Just skip to the end.
Well, since we started talking about Rillington Place, let's use that transition to move into murder, shall we?
Speaking of murder. Yeah.
Actually, I have a correction for last week.
Okay.
Little correction corner. I mentioned that the person in my story, Heather Tallchief, I think I said that she was the first woman on the FBI's most wanted list. That's not true. She wasn't the first woman, but she was the highest ranked woman on the most wanted list, and she was at number 3.
Do you know who the other women are?
Who was the first woman on the FBI's
10 most wanted, yeah.
The first woman was Ruth Eisman Shire.
Do you know what she did?
She was the boyfriend of Gary Christ, who kidnapped 20-year-old Barbara Jane Mackey, the daughter of a Florida land developer, and that was in 1968, which I think the FBI's most wanted list started around that time.
What, do they have fucking posters up?
I guess so. Maybe.
Like, that's the only way.
That's a good question.
I like
the newspaper, probably.
I like to Google it sometimes because it's just the FBI's website is so shit. It's really badly put together. It looks like it hasn't been updated since the 90s. It's great.
Not to mention, I deleted my Instagram app a couple weeks ago just to like not go on it because I was addicted to it. But the FBI also have an Instagram.
Oh well, I'm following
hilarious.
That.
Yes.
And do they put the most wanted on it? And like,
no, it's like, here's the first typewriter that was used in the coding of the 1958 Cold War or something like that.
What a job.
Yeah.
What a job.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, who got stuck doing the FBI's Instagram page?
Yeah.
Like, was it some secret agent? Was it a special agent that was like, yes, I can't wait to get in the field? And they were like, nope, sorry, Gary, you're doing the Instagram.
And the Twitter.
Yeah.
Don't worry about Facebook. Yeah, I'm 100% going on that. Like last night when we were at that dinner party as well, we were talking about the Citizen app.
Oh, yeah.
The app that tells you where crimes are happening. And Alessandra Alessandra, because she also lives in LA. Oh yeah, because I was telling her the ones you've told me about, like a pig. There was a pig in a van, and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like aggressive pig in a van, like guy stuck to a
Yeah.
billboard that ended up being Steve-O. She went, yeah, there was like they said there was like a woman with a spear, and then Alessandra was like, it was so stupid because it wasn't a spear, it was just a mop that had the end cut off, and she taped a knife to it.
Oh my gosh. It's true. It's so true. That Citizen app all the time. I think just the other day someone was like, this was like just down the street from me. Reports of 20 shots fired. And it was like, clearly people report shots fired all the time and it's just fireworks.
Yeah.
And now people leave you can leave comments on the Citizen app. So I went to the
Amazing.
comments and it was like, oh, someone counted like 20 straight shots.
No gun. What gun has 20 bullets? Like, they have to reload. Unless it was like a fucking
Yeah,
AK.
exactly.
Like,
right.
oh my god. Yeah, fucking taped a knife to the end of a mop. That is not a spear.
Yeah,
Oh,
so if the FBI's Instagram page was more like the Citizen app, then it would be a lot more exciting, I think.
yeah,
We should
like
tell them that.
Sarah was like, my friend Sarah was disgusted that we don't have the same thing here. She was like, I would be on that. I would just like watch the shit out of that. I was like, I know, right? But like nothing exciting enough happens, I don't think.
Yeah.
Pig in a
I mean,
van.
in London probably, but maybe
Yeah,
not really in Andover or maybe
no.
in Bristol.
Maybe in Bristol, I'll give you that. People are fucking weird in Bristol.
Yeah.
Once I was working at a pub and a guy just stood outside completely naked. It was freezing and he was just stood there completely fucking naked. We had to
Oh,
call the police and they had to come and get. He was obviously in some sort of like psychotic break or something. But like
yeah,
that would have definitely made it on the Citizen app. Naked
for
man
sure.
stood like perfectly still outside of a pub.
I'm pretty sure that's a daily thing on the LA Citizen app.
That
Somebody's
doesn't even
naked
make the app.
somewhere. Yeah.
They're like, no, no more naked people.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
right.
well, speaking of crime, Citizen app, let's get into it.
All
Do you
right.
have anything else that you wanted to mention or
Oh, a podcast, but it's not really crime related. It's a Vice
mm,
podcast, and it's about they taught like a chimp like sign language,
okay.
and like basically they're saying like, is it really doing sign language or not? And they like looked into it, and that's really interesting. So I'd suggest
Hmm.
that podcast, and I will find out the name
Oh.
and I will post it. But yeah, that's a good podcast. But yeah, that was it. I wrote this story on the train with a fucking screaming kid next to me, so I think I deserve some sort of medal. I know they don't give out the Victoria Cross very often, but I fucking deserve one, mate. So, okay. So our theme this week is women who've been executed, right?
Yes. Mhm.
There are a lot I could have done, but they're kind of like really old, so there wasn't that much info on
Yeah.
them. So this week I'm doing Amelia, Sach, and Annie Walters, or the Finchley Baby Farmers, is what they're known as.
Oh.
So I've never heard of it,
Hmm.
so I was excited.
Me neither.
Amelia Sach was born in 1873. She was a midwife, and she moved to London, where her father, an odd job man, had found work. She was the fourth of 10 children, and she had 3 sisters. She married a builder called Geoffrey Sach in 1896, and she married him shortly after her dad died. And then they had a daughter together called Lillian, and she always lied about her age. So at the time of this, I don't know why, but at the time of this crime, she was 32, not 29. But it's like regularly reported that she was 29, but that's not true.
Oh.
So by 1902, she was working from Claymore House, which was a semi-detached red brick villa in East Finchley in North London, and she
Okay.
operated a lying-in house. So as in Lying in. So lying-in homes were places where women stayed before and after childbirth. They were really
Oh.
normal. Yeah, they were really normal in Europe. So women would have really long bed rests before and after giving birth, which sounds fucking great. It
That
doesn't.
actually sounds really nice. And then
Yeah.
what, does somebody take care of your baby as well? Like
Yeah.
you stay in bed. Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds why don't we have that
Why don't we do that
anymore?
anymore? I don't know. It doesn't happen anymore, but it used to be considered essential, even if there were no complications during childbirth.
Yeah, it's essential. It's essential from the beginning of time.
I know, right? So women would usually stay there for 2 weeks to 2 months. Um, that is
Wow.
that makes it almost worth having a baby.
What, you know what? I really want to look into this and find out, like, why did it stop? And yeah,
I
why
think
did it stop?
so care was provided either by female relatives, so your mother or your mother-in-law, or for those who could afford
Yeah.
it by a nurse. So this is before the NHS, and then up until the
Yeah.
70s, the NHS would take the newborns to the nursery overnight for 10 days, ensuring that mothers were well rested by the time that they went home.
Okay, so I'm guessing that happens now then. The NHS still do that maybe, but not
I
for
don't
10
think they
days.
No, because when my brother's like fiance gave birth like 6 months ago, she was out the same day.
What?
Yeah. The phrase,
Sorry, I'm just I've been on like I've been reading a lot about like universal childcare because
mm,
okay, this is going off on kind of a tangent, but I've been listening to this podcast called Power.
mm-hmm.
It's about Hugh Hefner and the start of Playboy and all that kind
Oh,
of stuff.
yeah, I've
Yeah, it's
seen
really
that.
good. And obviously around that time, like feminism was becoming really big, and they interviewed this woman who she debated Hugh Hefner on a TV show back in the 70s, and it was really interesting. It sounds really interesting. And they're arguing about a lot of the same things that we argue about now. It's like not a
Mm-hmm.
lot has changed.
Mm,
And the interviewer asks this woman who's an old lady now, she says, like, what has changed and what hasn't? And obviously she's like, well, you know, a lot has changed for us now, women. Like, we have
mm,
access to all kinds of things. But the one thing that hasn't changed that should, it's still like very old school and not, it hasn't changed is like childcare. Like,
yeah.
why don't we have childcare
It really holds you
more
back
accessible? It really does. And
in
it
your
and
career and stuff. It does, yeah.
in your career, in your health, in your just anything that you want to do, it's just kind of nuts. And so that's what kind of made me start reading more about childcare and how accessible it is. And this lying in place sounds amazing. Like, it
Yeah.
should still exist.
2 months.
That's just another element of it. Like,
Fucking great.
give that lady a rest. She just carried a baby for 9 months.
I know. Yeah, now they get you out of hospital like as fast as possible.
Yeah.
I think the excuse they give, well, I don't know if it's the real reason, but like the excuse they give is that hospitals are like germ factories, so like you're better off at home. But at home you don't
I
get the
guess so.
rest that you do
And
in hospital.
no, not at all. You don't have a nurse or anything. But,
No.
and I mean, I guess if I were in the hospital, I would love to be home in my own bed.
Mm.
But even still.
Yeah, also about childcare, like in England, childcare is so expensive that some people just stay at home and look after their kids and don't go to work because even if they did
Yeah,
go to work, all their money would just go on childcare. So what's the point?
right.
You're
Right.
like
Exactly.
it's like short as long kind of thing.
So
So
frustrating.
yeah, it's fucking in France like childcare is like amazing and free, but then you
Mm.
have to live in France, so that is the downside. So I'm joking. I just got that stupid cunt French
No
ex-boyfriend.
insult to our French listeners if we have any.
It's not your fault that my ex-boyfriend is French. So
Yeah.
yeah, Amelia Sach, she was running one of these lying in homes, and she put an advertisement in the local paper under the name Nurse Thorne. Don't know why she just made up a name for herself.
Okay.
Accouchment before and during skilled nursing, home comforts, baby can remain. She is paying by the word for this advertising, I'm assuming. She's trying to get as much in as possible.
Like, no vowels in there.
The phrase baby can remain was basically like a euphemism, and it meant that an unmarried pregnant woman could go to the lying in home, give birth, and then leave without the child.
Oh.
So the clients were mostly servants from local houses who had become pregnant, and then they had employers who wanted the problem resolved discreetly, as in they've been fucking their housekeeper and got her knocked up. So they're like,
Oh.
fuck. So they send them to these homes where they have a baby and they just leave it there. So there's obviously a charge for staying at the hospital and then for the adoption. And they would say about the money, we're going to give the money to the future parents of your child to give it like the best start in life. And it was between £25 and £30, which is like loads of money back then.
Wow, that is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Once the child was born, Amelia would arrange an adoption, assuring her clients that their babies would start a new life with a well-to-do lady. So Amelia had a co-worker called Annie Walters who would help her run the lying-in home. She was born in 1869, and in some accounts she's described as a. This is like when they got caught. In the paper, they described her as a highly disturbed 54-year-old midwife.
Oh,
Okay,
jeez.
so her background's
What
largely
did she display
Oh, you'll
that
see.
made them okay?
Yeah, she's not cool. Her
Okay.
background is largely unknown, but she had been married and now she's widowed, and she seemed to have a drinking problem, and she would
Okay.
periodically just advertise herself as a nurse to like care for
Oh
people.
gosh.
She was also described as feeble-minded, so that could have been a number of things back then, like either she had learning difficulties or she had mental problems. Like, it's not necessarily that she was unintelligent, it could have been anything. So, in the winter of 1902, Annie was staying at Danbury Street in Islington, which is again North London. She asked the landlady if she could bring a baby back for one night before it was adopted. And the landlady agreed. And then 2 days later, the boy had gone. And she told her landlady that the adoptive parent was a widowed lady in Piccadilly, and she was delighted, and the baby was now finely dressed in muslin and lace. She had returned. She returned home at 8 in the evening, drunk, and threw some baby clothes across the table to the landlady, and said, "There you are. Those are for you." And she said, "Oh, you've taken." Sorry, the landlady said, "Oh, you've taken the poor little thing then." And then Annie said, "Poor little thing indeed. You should have seen it in its laces," suggesting that the wealthy lady had, like, someone really wealthy had adopted the child. So it had like nice little shoes on and stuff.
Okay.
But she's come back pissed up for some reason.
Yeah.
On November the 15th, she brought home another baby, telling a fellow lodger this one is going to a Coast Guard's wife at South Kensington. But because she kept like bringing home babies, like her actions aroused suspicion. And another man that lived at the house was a policeman, and he had reported that she kept bringing babies home and then they would just disappear. So
This is stressing me out.
yeah. So the police followed her. And on November 18th, she was followed to Kensington Station, where she was discovered in the ladies' toilets with a dead baby in her arms. His hands were by the way, there's a bit of like dead baby talk, and if that's going to disturb you, then maybe skip my story, because it is quite horrible. So his tongue was swollen, his lips were purple and black. The baby was the baby was a 4-day-old son of Ada Charlotte Galley, who was a servant who had recently given birth at Amelia and Annie's lying-in home. The cause of death was asphyxia, and both the women were arrested for murder. Annie admitted giving the child chlorodine, which is a lethal but widely available mixture of chloroform, cannabis, and opium, originally used as a treatment for cholera, which I think is like cholera is like, isn't that when you have really bad diarrhea?
I thought that's dysentery, or however you say it.
Let's look up cholera and see what the fuck that is.
Yeah. Cholera, an infectious and often fatal bacterial disease of the small intestine, typically contracted from infected water supplies and causing severe vomiting and diarrhea.
I knew it was a shitting one. I knew it was. So like so you can't stop shitting yourself, so you take chloroform, cannabis, and opium. Like,
yeah, what does that do?
That's fucking 1900s medicine for you.
That'll clean you out.
Yeah, that'll fucking block you up. A bit of opium.
Whoa, jeez Louise.
So Walters was probably addicted to it herself, because people just got addicted to it. And she told the arresting officer, "I never killed the baby. I only gave it 2 little drops in its bottle, the same as I take myself."
Well, that's fine then.
Well, yeah, if you have 2, maybe give it half of
Yeah.
one, because it's a lot smaller
Maybe
than you.
just yeah.
Amelia was charged as an accessory, and there were telegrams between the 2 women which detailed meeting times and pickup times, and that was enough to prove her role in the crime.
Mm.
So what they were doing was running something called a baby farming operation. So legitimate baby farmers provided a much needed service for pregnant unmarried women in Victorian and Edwardian times. Such women had few choices at a time when orphanages might refuse to take a child born out of wedlock. So that's fucking shit. So
Yeah.
Annie Walters would collect the baby after it was born and then kill it with that chlorodyne, and then just keep the money. So that was their
But
racket,
like
basically.
baby farmers wouldn't kill, like
They
legit
would
baby farmers
actually
wouldn't
get them,
kill the
yeah,
baby.
they would actually
Yeah.
get them adopted. But
Right.
they were like, yeah, we'll get it adopted and then just kill it and take the money, which is
Wow.
fucking mental. So
The worst.
the actual amount of victims is unknown, but there were loads of baby clothes found at the home, which convinced the police that it was probably more than a dozen. So in January 1903, the women stood trial at the Old Bailey. Both pleaded innocent and neither took the stand. At the trial, a witness, Miss Jones, said that she saw Annie on the Friday when she was found with the dead baby, at 3 o'clock, and she was at a cafe in Whitechapel, which is where all the Jack the Ripper stuff happened.
Yeah.
She was at a cafe in Whitechapel with a bundle in her arms. A bit of a blanket fell off, and Miss Jones noticed something that looked like a doll. It was not moving, and there was no sound. Annie was asked about the bundle, and she said it contained a baby under chloroform, that it had been in hospital. Like, oh, okay, no worries. Like,
Yeah.
that it had been in
It's just
hospital.
passed out.
I just chloroformed it. Um,
Yeah.
that it had been in hospital and that it was a boy and he was about a week old and that he'd just undergone an operation. So that's why she chloroformed him. She
That's
was
so
going,
sad. Also, the moms who just had babies who think that their baby has gone on to a better life,
I
they'll
know,
never know.
yeah. Well, if you went to
Wow.
that boarding house, it probably did
It
die.
didn't make it.
Yeah,
Right.
because they never ever did it properly. Um,
Mm.
she said she was going to take the child to Finchley, but the witness said, "I was sure that the baby was dead." So they then proceeded to call up medical evidence, and Dr. Joseph Pepper, so his name is Dr. Pepper, um, he's a divisional police surgeon. So he did the post-mortem examination of the baby that was found dead in her arms, and he had died from asphyxia that had probably been caused from a narcotic poison. So this is him being interviewed, basically. So
Okay.
the prosecution is a guy called Mr. Matthews, and he said, "Would the death be consistent with the administration of chlorodyne?" And he replied, "It would." And then the judge said, "A witness has stated that she heard the child making a peculiar noise." Dr. Pepper says, "I was in court and heard the witness imitate the noise." The judge, "Can you account for the child making those noises?" Dr. Pepper, "I should say that they were dying gasps." He went on to state,
Oh.
yeah, it's so horrible. He went on to state that in some cases, a child given chlorodyne would pass quietly away, but in others, it would produce convulsions before they died. So a child in convulsions would make the choking noises that had been described by the witness. So they were basically trying to say, like, it wasn't the chlorodyne that killed it, like, it was dying anyway. And then the doctor
Yeah.
was like, no, because it makes you have convulsions, and that's why they were making the noise.
Right. Right.
So the 2 prisoners, from their seats in the dock, followed the evidence with keen interest. Amelia Sach, in particular, seemed curious not to miss a word. As the afternoon wore on, the court became more and more crowded, and when at 3 o'clock precisely Mr. Matthews had finished his address for the Crown, having spoken for over 2 hours, the pressure had reached almost uncomfortable degree, and every available seat in the court was occupied. The landlady testified, "I always thought Mrs. Sach's name was Maud." She continued, "She signed her name Maud always, and she told me she received no money for the babies. She said the mothers were heartless things, leaving them on her hands. I was greatly surprised to hear that she received so much money from the mothers, and you know the rest. So she's just a fucking liar on
Wow.
every
Sounds like
count.
a shitty person.
Yeah, she's like, the mothers are heartless things, leaving them on my hands.
Yeah.
What the fuck? An all-male jury quickly convicted them. To be fair, I don't know if that's really relevant. It was in the
It
like
is.
research.
I feel like it always is.
Yeah, I mean, it would have. I don't think women could even be on a jury at that point.
I wonder. That's
I don't.
true.
I don't think they probably could. And the press denounced them as horrible and extensive trafficking babies in their unwomanly callousness.
Okay.
Unwomanly
Yep.
callousness. The case was reported as far away as Australia, and when police searched Claymore House, they found 300 items of baby clothing in Amelia Sach's bedroom.
Wow.
When the police arrested her, Amelia denied knowing anyone called Annie Walters, but there's no doubt
Okay.
that they sent telegrams to each other, so that was fucking stupid.
Unless she called herself Maud and she was like, who's this Annie Walters person?
Oh yeah, Maud is a murderer, but I don't know any Annie.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So 5 years later, the Children and Young Persons Act required all foster parents to be registered, and so the baby farming industry dwindled, which is good. A local campaign to have their sentences commuted to life failed, and they became the first women to be hanged at Holloway Prison, which is in London, on the 3rd of February in 1903, in what was the only double hanging of women to be carried out in modern times. So they were hung
Wow.
together at the same time. Also,
I bet they hated each other by that point.
yeah, probably. Also, like, it said that, because like old stories, the details are hard to like marry up.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
one bit of research, it said the hangman his name was something else, and then in this bit of research, it just seems more credible. It says, as their hangman Pierpoint, because I've mentioned Pierpoint before. He's like a
Yes.
famous executioner in England. Noted in
Yeah.
his diary, these two women were baby farmers of the worst kind, and they were both repulsive in type. They had literally to be carried to the scaffold and protested to the end against their sentences. So they did not go
Wow,
with
they were
dignity.
fighting the whole way.
Yeah, that is fucking dark. So, the bodies of Sach and Walters were buried in unmarked graves within the walls of Holloway Prison, as was the custom. But then in 1971, the prison underwent an extensive program of rebuilding, during which the bodies of all the executed women were exhumed, with the exception of Ruth Ellis, which was the last woman to be hanged in England in the 60s. The remains of the other 4 women who were executed at Holloway were reburied in a single grave at Brookwood Cemetery, plot 117. The grave is marked with a tombstone, and all the names of the occupants are engraved on it. And that is the story of the Finchley baby farmers.
Wow.
Dark.
That story packs a punch.
Right?
It's short, but
super interesting.
Yeah. Just think of all the elements as well. It's like, also Whitechapel. Like, what kind of place was that at that time?
Not a good
you got
place.
Jack the Ripper.
People just fucking walk around with dead babies. Like, literally have to go to someone. Excuse me, what is in that bundle? Is that baby dead? Imagine having to ask someone that. Just a regular day in Whitechapel.
Just had a bit too much opium. It's fine. Oh, okay. See you tomorrow.
He's not dead. No, he's not dead. I chloroformed him. Oh, my mistake.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Wow.
Yeah.
Great story.
Thanks, mate.
It was short, which works for me because mine's a little bit long this week. But
that's good.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it because should I just start? I'm just gonna get into it.
What's your plan? Have you got loads of stuff to do today? What's your plans?
I have to go feed a cat. I have an exterminator coming.
Why? What's in your house?
I don't want to know. I really don't want to know.
I think it's possums.
It's been stressing me out. It could be possums, but my dog keeps like running at the wall and just like, when a dog is in hunting mode and it's like pointing and
Arlo does it sometimes. I think there was a mouse in my room for a while in the radiator.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I could deal with snakes, spiders, bugs, any cockroaches, I don't care. I just have such a phobia of mice and rats. And
really?
Yeah, I just can't. I can't deal with it. if I think too much about it, it makes me feel
Like
sick.
skin crawl, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Like nauseous.
mine's spiders, so I'll deal with rats and you can deal with
Yeah.
spiders, because rats don't bother me
I'm
at all.
I'm fine with that. But
Okay.
so I told my landlord and I was like, "Hey, can we get the exterminator over?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll call him on Monday. This is on Friday." I'm
hmm
like, "I can't.
What's wrong with
I'm
calling
not."
him now?
Yeah. Well, it's the holiday weekend. I
Oh, right.
totally understand. But my landlord was like, "I'll call him on Monday. I recommend setting traps." And I was like, "Nope. I am not setting a trap. I am not finding a dead rat in my kitchen or whatever it is. Like rats are I would rather it be a mouse
Yeah, that's
than
cute and
rats.
small.
Like even though I hate mice, I just hate them so much. But rats, I'm just
That's so
like
cute, though.
they're not like they're so fast and their tails
They
are
are pretty
long and
skittish.
yeah.
Well,
So
best
I
of
was like, I'm
luck.
not doing that. I'm spending my life savings on getting an exterminator. I don't care.
Just burn the house down.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a great transition because
Ooh.
that's what happens in my story.
Okay, cool. Go for it.
So my story this week is about Judy Buenoano.
Okay.
Have you heard of her?
No.
She is known as the Black Widow, Florida's Black Widow.
There's a few of those,
So
isn't there?
there are a few. Yeah, that's why she's called Florida's and not
Yeah.
the whole country. So, Judicius Welty was born on April 4th, 1943 in Quanah, Texas, the third of 4 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
When she was 4 years old, her mother died of tuberculosis, and she and her younger brother were sent to live with their grandparents, and then they were kind of passed around between relatives during that time. So she lived in foster homes and different relatives and grandparents. When
Yeah.
she turned 10 years old, her father remarried, and she moved back in with him and her new stepmother in New Mexico.
He just
Later
can't
on,
cope with kids on his own.
well, the 2 younger ones,
Oh,
her and
okay.
her younger brother were young, so I
Yeah.
mean, I guess I kind of understand, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
But later on, Judy claimed that her father and stepmother abused her at that time, starving and beating her and treating her as their slave. I don't know if this is true or not, but
It's
that's what she
difficult, isn't it?
says.
With people who are criminals, like it's hard to
Yeah,
believe them because essentially they're not reliable.
yeah. When she was 14 years old, she attacked her family, punching her father and mother and throwing hot grease at her 2 stepbrothers.
Oh
There
God.
was one account and it was just like her legs and arms were just flying at her dad.
Oh
Like she was just angry. So she was sent to prison for 2 months, and when she got out, she was sent to reform school and graduated at 16 in 1959.
Okay.
Afterwards, she changed her name. This is short-lived as well because the rest of the story, she has her regular Judy name. But so she graduated from school and changed her name to Ann Schultz, and she studied to be a nurse's assistant. At 17 years old, she had a son named Michael, and it was unknown who the father was. She never said who the father was.
That's so
Nobody ever
strange.
knew. Yeah.
That's like who
But
else did that? Casey Anthony did that, right?
yeah, I believe so.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows who Kaylee Anthony's dad was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there were rumors, so she lived near an Air Force base, so there's rumors that it's someone from the Air Force base.
Okay.
So a year later, she's 18 years old. She met another man from the Air Force base. I guess she was just hanging
Stupid
around
sexy
there.
pilots.
I mean, why? Yeah, why not? And they married on January 21st, 1962. His name was James Goodyear, and he actually sounds like a really good guy. They seemed to have a happy marriage, so they got married. They had a son together 4 years later in 1966. They named him James Jr.
Ah.
And that same year, James Sr., he adopted Michael, Judy's other first son.
Mhm.
So he just sounds like a really good guy.
That's a
He
sweet thing to
adopted her
do.
other son.
Like, he doesn't
Yeah.
have to do that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And then, so a year after that, they had a daughter named Kimberly, and the happy family moved to Orlando, Florida. Judy opened a child care center while James Sr. went on active duty with the Air Force to Vietnam. Similar to your story, opening a child care center, but that's the last that you kind of hear of it. It doesn't sound like it lasted very long.
Okay.
So here's where it starts going downhill. So James Goodyear Sr., he returned from Vietnam, and it had barely been 3 months when he had unidentified symptoms. He just felt terrible. He was sent to the U.S. Naval Hospital in Orlando as his health was rapidly declining. He died on September 15th, 1971, with doctors stating that he died from natural causes, a possible heart attack, they thought.
Wow.
Up until then, they just had no idea what was wrong with him. He just was rapidly going downhill, and they couldn't figure out why.
See, this is why there probably are a lot more female murderers. They just get away with it. Like,
Yeah,
they're just not as stupid.
it's
Like,
true. Yeah. So Judy waited just 5 days to collect his life insurance money, which was a total of $95,000
wow.
in 1971. That was a good amount.
That's almost worth killing someone for. Like, I know this shouldn't go on record of me saying that, but fuck, that's a lot of money.
I mean, yes, us poor millennials who can't afford a home.
I know. I'm like that.
Like,
I could like buy a house outright, maybe.
yeah, that's a down payment on a 2-bedroom in LA.
I'm like, Tom, have you got any life insurance? We should think about getting you some.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then, so a few months later, the family house mysteriously burned down, and Judy was able to collect an additional $90,000 in insurance payout for the house burning
Fuck.
down.
Bitch
Yeah.
is rolling in it now.
Right? And, I was thinking about this too. Like, her husband died. I'm sure people in the community felt really bad for her. Like, she
Yeah, helped her
probably had it
out.
made. Yeah, like, oh, we'll make you dinner for the next month, and,
Yeah, bringing
oh,
her
we'll take
around
care
like
of your
lasagnas.
kids. Yeah. Meanwhile, she's just going shopping probably for whatever.
Lighter fluid.
Yeah, more lighter fluid.
Yeah.
1972, Judy meets another man named Bobby Morris, and she and her children quickly move in with him. However, her oldest son, Michael, was proving to be difficult. He tested with low intelligence, and he was disruptive in school, which, I mean, in the 70s, you were a bad kid
Yeah.
if that was
You weren't
you.
offered help. You were punished
No.
continuously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even like something as small as like being left-handed was like, oh, you're a
Yeah.
bad kid.
Yeah. Or you're stupid. It's just like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Poor kids. Right.
Yeah.
So Judy put him into foster care with psychiatric treatment. Yeah.
That's a bit harsh.
Which reminded me of another story that I did. I think it was the Lonely Hearts Killers.
Yes.
Didn't she just have kids and then she just left him for a man?
Yeah, she got rid of him so that she could, because he said he didn't like
Yeah.
kids. So she was like, bye.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leave you on this doorstep. She didn't do that because she had her other kids as well, but Michael was just too much, and
Can you imagine how
it bothered
sad he
me.
was?
Right? I know.
He's like, I
It
miss
just,
my family.
My dad died. I don't know who my real dad is. My adopted dad died, and now I have to go, because I'm a bad kid, I have to go live with a foster family.
So sad.
Yeah, it's doubly as shitty that she did this, considering how much money she had. Like, her reason was like, "Oh,
Exactly.
I can't take care of him. I'm going to put him in foster care with the added psychiatric treatment that was on offer." It's like, you had the money
Yeah.
to put him in psychiatric treatment. You didn't have to
Yeah.
do that.
No.
So that happened, and then in 1977, so it's been about 5 years. She's been with Bobby Morris. He decides to move to Colorado, and he invited Judy and her children to come with him. She hung around Florida for a little bit longer, where her home again mysteriously burned down.
Fuck it out.
Yeah. She was again able to collect more insurance, and as soon as she did that, she was like, "All right, I'm ready to move to Colorado." She moved her kids to Colorado, and she took Michael with them this time. So she
Oh.
was like, "Okay, you can come along now to Colorado."
Okay.
So they moved to Trinidad, Colorado, and Judy now changed her name to Judy Morris.
Is that her
Another
husband's?
person with they didn't get married. They were she was considered his common law wife.
Yeah.
You'll find out later why that is relevant.
Okay. I'm dreading it.
Yeah. So they move in. Lo and behold,
Oh,
several months later, Bobby begins feeling ill and his health is rapidly declining. He went to the
Oh.
hospital on January 4th, 1978, but the doctors couldn't find the cause for why he was feeling so ill, and he was released home back to Judy 2 weeks later on January 21st. 2 days later, he was having dinner with the family and he collapsed at the dinner table.
Oh God, that's terrifying.
Yeah, for the kids as well.
Yeah.
Man. He was admitted to the hospital, but unfortunately, he died a few days later. The doctors again claimed it to be a heart attack.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess antifreeze is what she's using. We'll wait and see.
We
Don't tell
will
me.
continue. We will find out.
Okay.
This time, Judy collected money from 3 separate insurance policies on Bobby Morris's name.
Whoa. Who needs 3 life
Uh,
insurance policies? You should only be allowed 1.
That's true. Why do you need 3?
Maybe you're not allowed more than 1, but she just did it anyway.
Well, it's not relevant for Bobby, but it is. I mean, you do have life insurance when you're in the military, so she
Yeah.
for sure got a payout from the military life insurance. And I guess
Yeah.
if you wanted another life insurance on top of that, you could do that. So, but I really don't know how it flies with Bobby Morris's 3 different life insurance. And so she was considered his common law wife
Yeah.
because they lived with him and
Mhm.
he probably claimed her kids for tax purposes.
Yeah.
So Bobby's family were suspicious that this wasn't a tragic accident, so they are keeping an eye on Judy.
Good for them.
Yeah, so with suspicion floating around, Judy changed her name again, this time to Buenoano, which is what she's gone on after that. She's known as.
Do you know where she got that from?
Yes. So Buenoano is a Spanish translation to apparently tribute her first husband, Goodyear. So Bueno, good,
Yeah.
ano, year.
Oh, that's not. I mean, I know she killed him, but that is nice.
Yeah, it's kind of sweet, but
It would be sweet if
just
she didn't kill
weird.
him.
Yeah.
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 And she wasn't changing her name to like dodge people.
Right. She also changed her children's name to match the family name, so they all had the name Buenoano, and she moved back to Florida. So her oldest son Michael was, by this point, it starts getting sad. So he was finishing up high school and he was still not doing great in school, so he decided to drop out, and in 1979 he joined the army. Possibly they said that he joined the army because he was inspired by his dad, his
Aww.
adopted dad.
And
Yeah,
get away from
James
his mum,
Goodyear
who doesn't
Sr.
give a fuck about him.
I don't know what the relationship was like. It's well, we'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds sad. It just sounds like he was maybe a slower kind of guy and toted around by his mom and was like, I'm going to
Yeah.
leave you here. And he just went along with it. So he joins the army. After boot camp, Michael was stationed in Georgia. On his way to his post, he stopped to visit his mom. After his visit, and by the time he reached the base in Fort Benning, Georgia, so Florida, it's not that far from Georgia. I mean, it's probably like a day's drive.
Okay.
Michael could barely feel his arms and legs, and he
No!
headed straight to the army hospital. After testing, army doctors found 7 times the normal amount of arsenic in
No!
Michael. Yeah. But by that point, there was little that they could do to help Michael. The damage had already been done. After 6 weeks in the hospital, Michael left with braces on his legs as he couldn't walk anymore. The muscles in his legs had atrophied, and he had also lost the use
No.
of his hands. So
Shit.
he had heavy braces on his legs and a prosthetic on one of his arms. And this is relevant. It was all weighing around 60 pounds, around 4 stone,
Fuck.
that he had all this crap on him.
I hate this woman.
Yeah. Well, you will hate her even more because it
Fuck
gets
me.
worse. I'm sorry.
Why are you such a bitch, Jude? What's her name, Judy?
Judy, yeah. And they talk about this later, but it was all motivated by money. And our theme this week is execution. And one of the biggest things was like, she should be executed because her motivation this whole time was just money. She didn't care about anything else.
Yeah, we were discussing like why women murder people and like why men murder people. Me and my mate Ruth, and I was saying like men murder for like out of rage, and like
Yeah.
women will murder for money or
Mm-hmm.
for like
Yeah.
freedom or for like
Right.
convenience.
It's kind of more, if you
Logical. It's
go
like more thought out.
deeper, it's like, it's more about survival. You're
Yeah,
trying to survive. Men
yeah,
don't murder for survival. Women
yeah,
do.
yeah. I
Like
agree.
freedom, money. So, okay. Michael goes back to his mother's after he gets out of the army hospital. They're like, well,
Well,
we
I
can't
wouldn't.
be in the army anymore. But I mean, he has no one else. That's the sad part. It's
That
like
is the sad
his
thing.
dads keep dying. She never spoke to her family again, so he didn't have any relatives on his mom's side that he could turn to. Like, and they kept moving, so just
Yeah,
no one.
yeah.
So he goes back to his mom's. Not long after his stay with them in May 1980, Judy took Michael and her other son, James Jr. She suggested that they go out for a canoe trip on the East River, not far from their home where they lived in Pensacola, Florida. As they paddled along, their canoe tipped over. And if you remember, he had all of his braces and a prosthetic on. Judy and James Jr. were able to swim to safety. However, because of Michael's leg braces and prosthetic, the heavy metal caused him to sink and drown.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
Isn't it? It's
So,
really sad.
do you think that was an accident, or do you think she tipped the boat?
Let's talk more.
Okay.
Let's get into the story more.
Okay.
So Judy collected another $20,000 from Michael's military life insurance policy.
Oh, he should have gotten married to anyone so that they got the money and not her.
Oh, yeah, poor guy. He was only 18 though. I mean, and he was trying to get
Oh,
out, trying to join the army. Or was he 18? Yeah, he was a teenager. Judy soon used the money to open a beauty salon in Pensacola, Florida, and obviously she got busy dating again. This time she attracted Florida businessman John Gentry. He later described seeing her for the first time, and this is what he said. Judy was standing at the bar, all dressed in black. She wore black quite a lot. In fact, psychologically, I think that says a lot about her.
goth. Goths are evil.
Yeah.
Was she really hot? Like, how
not,
is she getting all these husbands?
she wasn't. She
Guess she's
wasn't
just
hot, but
charming.
she was charming. So here's what I have. She told him all kinds of lies, John Gentry. She said that she had a PhD in biochemistry and psychology, and she worked in the hospital, but she gave it all up to open her own beauty salon. John believed it, and he was just sucked in immediately. He bought her expensive gifts, and he bought her trips on cruises and expensive drinks when they would go out, and just,
Wow.
it sounds like she was just a great charmer.
She must have been a
Like,
great fuck.
pulling in these men.
She must have been amazing in bed.
Maybe she was that too.
Yeah.
So they were engaged by October 1982. By then, Judy had convinced John that they should take out life insurance policies on each other. The policies were set at $50,000, but Judy, she upped John's to $500,000.
Whoa.
And she boosted it without his knowledge. So she was paying
Again,
the premium
shouldn't
without
be
him
allowed.
knowing. No. Everyone should be
aware, like, of their own life policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That should be a rule.
Yeah.
So shortly after, John, he got a cold, he just got a regular cold, and Judy suggested that he take a natural remedy, vitamin C pills that she gave him. So she started giving him vitamin C pills. However, his cold didn't improve, and in fact, he began feeling seriously ill with symptoms of dizziness and vomiting. He was hospitalized for 12 days in December 1982, and he was smart enough to notice that his symptoms went away after he stopped taking the vitamin C pills.
Good for him.
However, when he was just discharged from the hospital, he went back to Judy. So you're right. Maybe she was just amazing in bed. He was like, I don't care. I'm just going to stop taking these pills.
She's like, don't worry about me. I'll just give you blowjobs like constantly. Like, you don't even have to worry about me. I don't even like having an orgasm. Boring. Like, let's make this all about you.
Yeah. So he was discharged, and everything seemed fine for the next 6 months until June 25th, 1983. Judy had just told John that she was pregnant, and she convinced him to go to the liquor store to grab something to celebrate. John didn't make it to the liquor store because, as he sat in his car and turned the ignition, a bomb exploded under his car.
Fucking hell! That's a little less subtle than the pills.
Yeah.
She's like, if this motherfucker won't take my pills, I'm gonna blow him to smithereens.
Man, I just can't with these blowjobs anymore. I've had enough.
Got like repetitive strain injury in her jaw.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, things escalated quickly for her. She was not being smart. They said, like, she could have gotten away with this for a while had she continued down the arsenic pills until that's when the cops were like, who plants a car bomb on an innocent man? Nobody.
Car bomb. I mean, that's pretty like, how the fuck? Do you know what, though? Explosives are readily available in America, aren't they? Like, you can buy them.
In the early 80s, yes.
Yeah,
Like,
whereas, like, I don't think you can buy explosives here. No.
I mean, ingredients for explosives, yes. I think if you go to Home Depot now and you buy, if you wanted to build a bomb, like, I think that you're put on a list of, like, hey, this guy.
It'd be flagged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back then, though, like, nobody cared. Nobody kept track.
Yeah.
So, bomb went off. He was rushed to the hospital. He was near death, but the surgeons were able to save him, so he lived.
Fuck yes.
4 days later, he was laying in his hospital bed. He was doing better, so he was conscious enough that the police paid him a visit.
Mm-hmm.
they had been on to Judy ever since her son's death. And I think even before that with Bobby Morris, because Bobby Morris's family were like, this woman,
Yeah, keep an eye on
don't
her.
trust her.
Mm-hmm.
So the police revealed to John, they revealed the several lies that Judy had told him. Her nursing and PhD qualifications were fake. And also, she was not pregnant. She had been sterilized 8 years earlier in 1975.
What a weird lie.
So
I guess she thought he'd be dead so he wouldn't be able to tell anyone.
Right.
So it
I
wouldn't
think,
matter.
too, that at that point she was, like, trying to figure out a way to, like, get him to get in his car and be like, oh, I'm pregnant. You should go get a bottle of champagne to celebrate.
Dude, she could have asked him anything. She could have been like, I really,
Yeah.
really need something. Could you please, please, please go get it? Why are you
Please,
pregnant?
we
Such
need
a
some
weird
milk.
lie.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe because it was like a rush thing, like, oh, go right now. Let's celebrate.
Yeah.
Like, rather than like a casual, like, oh, can you go to the store and get some milk?
Yeah, he'll be like, I
I
don't
don't
want
know.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine him. He's just been car bombed, and then he finds out his
I don't know why that's so funny.
fiance finds out his fiance isn't pregnant. She's been lying about her PhDs.
Like, that's an upsetting day.
Yeah. Well, the police also told him that they were looking into Judy, like what she'd done in the past week or so, and they found out that she booked a cruise for her and her children, and John was not included.
She was like, this car bomb is 100% gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, the confidence
and then,
on the woman.
Right. So clearly he's like, all right, Judy does not want me around. I'm talking to the cops.
Yeah.
So he answers all the questions that they ask him about her and their life. And he also hands over those vitamin C pills that she'd given him 6 months previously.
Ooh, clever.
Investigators found that they were not actually vitamin C pills, but a mixture of arsenic and formaldehyde.
Fuck.
Yeah.
In a pill form.
Further,
Why are they
in a pill form.
Why are they available for purchase?
She probably made them. You know, you can make like your own capsules.
Yes, that's very true. Very true. I didn't think of that.
So, yeah, sneaky lady just making fake vitamin C pills.
Effort.
Yeah. So further, investigators found that Judy was telling friends that her fiancé was suffering from a terminal illness, and that's why he was in the hospital, not because there was a car bomb. Investigators had, at this point, enough of a foundation to get a search warrant for Judy's home a few weeks after the bombing on July 27th. There, they found wires and supplies that matched the bomb found under John's car, as well as phone records that trace the purchases of the bomb supplies. And lastly, so yeah, they're looking good and hard. They exhumed the bodies of James Goodyear, Bobby Morris, and Michael Buenoano, where tests revealed that all of them held high traces of arsenic in their systems.
Yeah.
Investigators also exhumed the body of another one of Judy's old boyfriends. His name was Gerald Dossett. However, they couldn't find enough traces of arsenic to prove that she had murdered him as well.
So she had another dead guy
possibly.
In her... Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't mention this part because it's not really that talked about, but so the whole thing with Bobby Morris, there was this rumor that Bobby and Judy went to visit some family somewhere, and the motel that they were staying at, a man just got shot just randomly, and they never found out who it was. And
could have been her.
Yeah, so that's partly why Bobby's family were suspicious of her, because on Bobby's deathbed, he was like, they don't know if he was delirious or what, but he said, Judy, I can't believe we did that terrible thing. And it might also explain like why he decided to move from Florida to Colorado, just up and leave. So they think that she possibly convinced him to like shoot this man for whatever reason.
Oh my God.
But again, there wasn't that much information into that, so I didn't really. I'm telling you now, but
There's no solid
there
proof.
there was no solid proof, and they looked at Gerald Dossett, another ex-boyfriend. So there was like that, and there was this possible shooting, but they could never prove that she had done those things.
Mm-hmm.
However, they did note that James Goodyear Sr.'s body, he had been buried for 15 years at that point, and his body was still pretty intact, showing the high amount of arsenic that was in his system, because arsenic kind of
Preserves you.
what's the word? Preserves you, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So Judy was arrested in her beauty salon the following month in August, at first charged with the attempted murder of her fiancé John Gentry. She made bail, but police used this time to build up other cases against her. On January 11th, 1984, Judy was indicted for first-degree murder for the death of her son, as well as an additional count of grand theft for claiming the insurance on Michael. As she was again arrested for this charge, she staged a seizure, and she spent the next few days in the hospital under a watch of a guard.
I can't believe
However,
she made bail. Like, I would have thought she would have been classed as a flight risk.
that's true, but sounds like she had the cash to make bail, so
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
what could they do?
Yeah.
Okay, so for the attempted murder of John Gentry, Judy was given a 12-year sentence. Following that, Judy was convicted for the murder of Michael, receiving a life sentence without the possibility of parole for the first 25 years. So she went to court. That was dealt with pretty quickly, and she's in prison. She's in prison for a year. The following year, she faced court again, this time for the murder of James Goodyear Sr., as well as, again, multiple counts of grand theft and arson. Court heard that she had reportedly collected around $240,000 total for the multiple insurance policies from both fire and the deaths. So burning the houses down as well. She was up for counts of arson. The trial began on October 22nd, 1985, lasting 1 week. Very short. Judy proclaimed innocence, denying any criminal activity. She rolled her eyes and she glared at prosecution, saying on the stand that she was the victim of, in quotes, defamation, assassination of character, to make me into a vile monster, and she insisted jurors have been swayed by manufactured evidence. She said, I would have found me guilty if I were the jury.
You planted a car bomb. Like,
yeah. You can see there's a little clip on YouTube. If you search her name, Judy Buenoano, there's a little clip of her like yelling in court. Like,
not a good
I
look.
can't believe you said this about me, and this is not true. And
be cool, Judy.
yeah. So the jury deliberated for 10.5 hours, and on November 26, 1985, Judy was found guilty for the death of James Sr., sentencing her to death by electric chair.
Eesh, that's a nasty one.
Yeah.
This is Florida,
and
though, right?
This is Florida. This is one of the reasons why I picked the story, because I was looking up different people and I was like, oh, lethal injection. Electric chair was being used up until 2002. Talicza, we were alive when people were using the electric chair, which is
what
insane
a way to go.
to me.
Like, that
Yeah.
is, like, you know, they say, like, you know, you can't have cruel or unusual punishment.
Mm-hmm.
That is fucking cruel and unusual.
I went down a whole electric chair hole after reading this story.
I bet.
And actually, it's considered less cruel and unusual than lethal injection, because lethal injection can go more wrong and it can last a long time and you're in pain and you're conscious and you know what's going on. Whereas if something goes wrong with the electric chair, it's still over pretty quickly.
Like, Ted Bundy's leg set on fire.
But you're already electrocuted by that point. If you set on fire,
you're definitely dead.
Dead. Yeah.
Yeah, fair, I suppose.
So, as she waited on death row, prosecutors decided not to continue the case against her for the murder of Bobby Morris in Colorado, since she was already sentenced to death in Florida. So that's kind of sad that they didn't look further into that. His family didn't really get justice for it, and they kind of lumped it in to her sentence. So.
Yeah. I'm shocked that once she was in prison for like 25 years, life with possibility of parole of 25 years, I'm surprised they didn't just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's true.
But they were really going after her.
I guess those Florida jurors were pretty brutal and were like, no, she's getting it. She's not getting out of this.
Fuck.
Judy continued to appeal. She waited on death row for the next 13 years. She passed the time by writing letters, crocheting blankets and baby clothes, and maintaining her innocence. She said, I have eternal security, and I know that when I die, I will go straight to heaven and see Jesus.
I'm going to disagree with you there.
Did you watch the movie I, Tonya?
Yeah.
She looks like
the mom.
Yeah. That's what she looks like. Yeah.
Okay. She's been proposed to like 4 times. I'm furious.
Again, probably just great in the sack.
I just need to up my game. I need to be less
Gotta
lazy.
lay on that charm, Talicza. Yeah. So, in the few days before her execution, she gave a television interview. You can also look this up, where she still claimed her innocence, saying that the police never looked at anyone else in their investigations of the men's murders.
Didn't need to,
Who
baby.
Who else, lady?
Didn't need to. Why waste time? You have bomb-making materials in your house. Like, try harder to hide it.
And arsenic pills.
Just
Who
lying
has
around.
That?
I would
vitamin
not,
C pills.
I do not know how to get hold of arsenic. I might Google it on incognito mode. But it's basically like rat poison, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Isn't it just rat poison? I mean, I could have it in my house right now. I have pretty good reason.
Ask the pest control guy when he comes over.
What should I ask him? So, got any of that arsenic lying around? Also,
no, like just how do you get it? Yeah. But then I suppose if you're like a pest eradication company, they're not going to ask any questions. Whereas like if you're just like a civilian, they're going to be like, why?
Civilian, yeah.
You're not in the pest control army.
Exactly. So she cried on camera and she said, I would like to clear the record for my grandson. I would like for him to know that his grandmother was not a murderer.
Oh.
Still saying she's innocent.
Car bomb. 2 words for you.
So her execution was set for 7 a.m. on March 30th, 1998. I was 11 years old.
Wow. And they shave your head as well, don't they? For the electric chair.
Yeah, well, I'm going to describe. Describe it all. So in her final hours, she had visits from her adult children, Kim Hawkins and James Goodyear Jr., other relatives, and her legal and religious advisors. Jean Eaton, a cousin who visited, she said afterwards, she had no fear at all. She's mostly afraid of leaving her children and how upset they were.
Oh.
At 4:30 a.m., she was showered and dressed, and her head was shaved so that her hair did not catch fire in the electrical current. Oh. Her final meal was a plate of broccoli, asparagus, strawberries, and hot tea.
That sounds shit.
Yeah.
Worst last meal ever.
I love broccoli. That would be included.
It's not a meal.
No, I'd be going all out. Burger, pie, all that.
Yeah.
54-year-old Judy Buenoano was led to the electric chair and she sat down at 7:02 a.m. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
She probably did shit herself.
Probably. Electrodes were placed on her head and calves. She was asked if she had a final statement, to which she replied, "No, sir," and she closed her eyes, not looking at anyone else, as a leather mask was placed over her face.
Oh, so savage.
Yeah. She was pronounced dead at 7:13 a.m. She was the first woman to be put to death in Florida since 1848, so 150 years.
Wow.
And the third woman to be executed since 1976. Judy is considered a serial killer, and she earned the nickname as Florida's Black Widow for the murders she committed. And again, there's still some murders that she's suspected to have committed even today.
Oh my
and
God.
That is the story of Florida's Black Widow, Judy Buenoano.
Mate, that was one of the best stories you've ever told. It was so good.
So I just want to tell you this little rabbit hole that I went down. The first photograph of an execution by electric chair was of a woman.
Whoa.
Yeah, her name was Ruth Snyder, and she was at Sing Sing in 1928. She murdered her husband, and she was executed by electric chair. And a photographer snuck in a camera and took a picture as the electric chair as it was turned on. So there's a picture of this. Apparently, it remains one of the best known examples of photojournalism.
Whoa. What's the picture like? Have you seen it?
So I went down this electric chair rabbit hole after I finished my story. It was 1 a.m. last night. I was like, I cannot look at this picture right now. Because
Not right now.
I don't want to fall asleep with this image in my head.
Burn into your fucking retinas.
It's like literally.
Yeah, dude, the electric chair is just so savage. It is 100% my last choice in all of the execution methods.
Well, get this. It's still on offer, and there's been a couple of guys on
fancy this.
Yeah. There's been a couple of guys recently who are on death row who are choosing. They're like fighting for it to have it
instead of the injection.
Instead of lethal injection, because of what I said earlier about how things have gone wrong with lethal injection, and you're conscious as you're dying. And that's what those men on death row, there's a couple of them who are like, I don't want to be conscious as I'm slowly dying. I want to go out quick.
I just wonder what they did to end up on death row. And
yeah, that's also true. It's like, why? Who cares why you should have a choice in this?
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Yeah. Wow, it was incredible. So many twists. I did not see that car bomb coming. And neither did he.
Neither did I.
I didn't. Nobody saw that coming. Like,
there was a very similar story with another woman who was executed. But as soon as I read the car bomb, I was like, yes, we're doing
Judy.
This one.
We've got to do Judy.
Yeah.
Judy wins by a country mile. Okay, thanks. Well, I am fucking starving and hungover as death.
Me
so, yeah. What were you doing? You hungover?
I'm starving. I'm not hungover.
Oh, okay. No. Okay, fair enough.
It's breakfast time for me.
Lovely. I love breakfast. My favorite. Okay, well, have a great breakfast, and I will speak to you next week. Okay.
Yep. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Transatlantic Crime this week. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at TransatCrimePod, Instagram at Transatlantic Crime, and on Facebook with Transatlantic Crime Podcast.
Thanks, bye.